Late this week, the public school boards in Miami-Dade and Broward adopted new masking policies. As you know, the governor and the state legislature enacted laws that ban mandatory masking of students. The two school districts defied that ban for a few weeks in the fall, but then they backed off when the Delta wave subsided. Then here came the highly contagious Omicron wave, and school districts acted. Local 10 News reporter Leanne Morahone is out there and has this latest report on schools and masks.
In just a few hours, South Florida students will head back to the classroom after that long winter break. Last week, Miami-Dade and Broward County public schools announced that adults in their districts will have to mask up on campus, but students would only have to wear a mask optionally. That is because Florida state law basically prohibits them from instituting mask mandates for students. Not the case at private schools, at the Archdiocese of Miami schools. They've decided that starting Monday, kids and adults would have to mask up. The Archdiocese of Miami making a major announcement about their school masking rules, requiring all students and staff members over the age of 2 to wear masks, regardless of vaccination status or parental waiver. The Archdiocese cites a substantial increase in positive COVID-19 cases per 100,000 persons in the Tri-County area over the last 4 weeks as the reasoning behind the change.
Option A passes as amended.
This comes one day after school officials in Broward voted to require all vendors and visitors to wear a mask while indoors at any district school or facility, but stopped short of requiring employees and students to wear one. Recently passed state law keeps public school districts from mandating that students wear a mask.
The governor pushed the legislature to enact a law that basically removed all our constitutional ability to oversee the safety of our students and staff.
Miami-Dade's public school officials face the same challenges, announcing masks would only be required of adults and remain optional for students. On Thursday, Miami-Dade Superintendent Alberto Carvalho said the legislation that bans mask mandates falls short of the advice of medical experts. The superintendent hinted at possible legal action that may challenge those laws.
Let's begin with the Constitution of the state of Florida, and let's explore what that really means, regardless of the recently adopted legislation.
So the Archdiocese of Miami mask mandate will be instituted on January 3rd and will last at least until the 21st. During that time, officials say that they will look at the trends with regards to COVID cases and decide whether or not to continue the mask mandate beyond that point. For now, reporting in Miami Shores, Leanne Morahone, Local 10 News.
Leanne, thank you. Now we want to dig deeper into the situation at public schools in South Florida with Dr. Steve Gallen. He is the vice chair of the Miami-Dade School Board, and Laurie Levinson, who is the chair of the Broward County School Board. To both of you, good morning. Great to see you.
Good morning, Michael. Glad to be here.
Michael.
Thank you, Laurie. Thank you, Steve. Steve Gallen, let me begin with you. On Thursday, the superintendent of schools, Alberto Carvalho, announced that starting tomorrow, that all adults who are on any campus in the Miami-Dade public schools must wear a mask, and that includes teachers, administrators, cafeteria workers, custodial staff, visitors, vendors, but not students. So are your hands tied? Should students be wearing masks as well?
Absolutely, Michael. You know, our board showed tremendous leadership in August when I proffered an item that was successfully passed to require masks pursuant to the local conditions. We utilize science as the benchmark for our decision making, and the science right now indicates that masks would be required at a 25% positivity rate. However, we were able to mitigate many of the spread in our community, in our district, and amongst our schools. We had a community solution, but it was mitigated and impeded through a legislative action through the special session. So right now we are restricted by law from enacting the mask mandates. Unfortunately, we found that they worked. They worked for the Miami-Dade County Public Schools, and they worked tremendously for our entire community.
Yeah. Laurie Levinson, your board met on Friday, emergency meeting, voted 5-3 to adopt a somewhat different policy. You say that all visitors, vendors to Broward County Public Schools, they must be masked, but teachers don't have to be masked. Now that frankly was not your position, was it? You believe that teachers should be required to mask as well.
Yes, that wasn't my personal position, but as the chairwoman of Broward County, I'd like to speak on behalf of the board first and say that there were indeed varying opinions, and we did hold a meeting because our superintendent, through policy, did not have the authority to make this decision. So we had this emergency school board meeting to possibly put that into policy where the superintendent would be able to do that in the future. As I said, there were varying opinions, and I believe that all the school board members were trying to do what they believe was in the best interest of our students. We had several who believed that because students were not permitted to wear masks through the HB 1B law that was just spoken about, that adults should be given that same option. The Broward Teachers Union president came and spoke to that effect too, that it should be optional for the adults. And we also had a couple of...
Laurie, excuse me, if I can jump in there. I saw in reports in the Sun Sentinel and the Miami Herald that Anna Fusco, the president of the Broward Teachers Union, said that requiring teachers to wear a mask would be, quote, an insult because they already wear masks. Is that true? Do most of the teachers in Broward already wear masks?
I would say yes, most of the teachers do, but as the transmission rates were lower, we had teachers who were not. And to me, you had asked my opinion on this. Because the transmission rates are so high, we just heard from a medical expert on your show, and all the medical experts that we listen to, that the more people that are wearing masks, the less transmission there will be of the virus, especially when it's over 25%.
Right. Steve Gallen, you mentioned a minute ago that with the positivity rate now at 26% in South Florida, that this might, in fact, invoke the CDC guidelines, and yet the state legislature and the governor say you may not require students to wear masks. So will you sue the state? Will you go into court and say, hey, you know, we have a constitutional right and authority to take this step?
There's been some discussion relative to taking action against the state, but I want to say for the record, Michael, the board has not taken that position at this particular time. When the board made an affirmative decision to file legal action against the state, we did it in a very exhaustive manner, and obviously those actions were rendered moot with the passage of HB 1B. So we had actually taken previous actions against the against the emergency order for the Department of Health, and we were allowing that legal pathway to run its course. But the law obviously trumped that. It made our legal action at that time moot. But at this particular time, despite some of the rhetoric that has been stated, the board has not made an affirmative decision as relates to any legal action. So right now, we are committed to complying with the letter of the law, and we're hoping and praying and encouraging our community stakeholders and our parents and our families to do what they've done time and time again. Listen, Michael, we have an 80% vaccination rate here in Miami-Dade County. That said, that our community understands their role and their responsibility in terms of curbing the spread. We hope that that translates into our parents making sound decisions for their children. I'm a parent. I have a child at the Miami-Dade County Public Schools. My child will be wearing a mask. Her mother and I made that decision. And we are going to take our roles and our responsibilities very seriously. But unfortunately, as my colleague in Broward indicated, the legislature has obviously created a legal impediment for us to do what we believe we should do at the local level. And we have to, at this particular time, follow the law. But as we continue to look at some of the challenges that we face, communicate with the state, and hopefully that brighter minds will prevail and we'll have some pivot to provide some greater flexibility based on local conditions. And Michael, what we did in Miami-Dade County Public Schools, we granted the superintendent the authorization to establish those protocols. As we started to prepare for this week, it was somewhat silent. I sent the communication to the superintendent on last Tuesday, December 28th, with a 12-point request to identify what are our plans going to be for the return. As you see, subsequent to that, on Thursday, we have protocols announced. So our board is very engaged, but we look forward to the implementation. But right now, we have to implement pursuant to the law. Laurie,
Rich Levinson, we all know, you certainly know, that for a couple of weeks, The CDC has said that children 12 and older could get vaccinated. And then just this week, they said children 5 and older can be vaccinated. Among the couple of 100,000 students in Broward County, do you have an idea about how many of your students are in fact vaccinated?
I don't know the percentage at this time, Michael, but I know that we are encouraging vaccinations for our students. We know that that is the primary way that we're going to be able to mitigate the coronavirus, and we are encouraging, and the Department of Health is going out to our schools for our students to receive those vaccinations.
Yeah. All right. Well,
with parent consent, of course.
Yeah. Right.
And Michael, if I may, that is a significant concern that I'm sure my colleagues in Broward County have, and we have as well. Vaccinations do work, but right in Miami-Dade County, we have only about 9% of our students ages 5 through 11 vaccinated. And those are very vulnerable groups in elementary schools. They're very difficult in terms of retaining their masks. And that is an area in which they're very asymptomatic and they can perpetuate the spread and not being vaccinated. So approximately 90% of our students ages 5 through 11 in Miami-Dade are not vaccinated.
Okay, well, everybody hold your places. We're going to take a break and we'll be back in just a minute. Welcome back. We are in the midst of a good discussion about schools and masking and mitigation policies with Dr. Steve Gellin, Vice Chair of the Miami-Dade School Board, and with Laurie Levinson, Chair of the Broward County School Board. Laurie, I see that in a couple of cities, maybe Atlanta is one, I think, that have been very hard hit by Omicron. They are going to offer an alternative of going back to virtual learning. Is that even on the board here for you at Broward County?
That's not an option through the state. Under the emergency order last year, the governor permitted virtual education, which was what happened at the very beginning of last school year. We voted to go back fully in person or hybrid in October, where we did have virtual as well for part of the year. This year, that's not a possibility. We do have our Broward Virtual School that students may sign up for if they are interested in having fully virtual. And my opinion is, Michael, that keeping our students in school, in-person learning is critical at this time for their educational growth and their emotional well-being.
Yeah, and Steve Gellin, I know you would agree with that. The loss of learning from March 2020 until this fall for most children in public schools and archdiocese schools, any schools, has just been almost immeasurable. I mean, the teachers have been heroic, but there's nothing like learning in a classroom face to face with the teacher, is there?
Absolutely. The learning losses of our students here at the local, state, and quite frankly, national level have been catastrophic. Our teachers have been Herculean. Our parents, actually, Michael, have also been Herculean. You know that virtual instruction required a significant amount of parental involvement, and we're very, very grateful and supportive of those efforts. However, we do not have the flexibility that Laurie mentioned from the state as it relates to funding for a full virtual model. However, the Miami-Dade County Public Schools will continue to offer its instructional continuity plan. So where students have been identified as testing positive, where parents are making sound decisions to keep their children home, to keep them safe, and to provide for safety measures for other students, our instructional continuity plan will be in place for virtual learning for those students for a brief period of time. So we're talking 5 to 10 days if needed. So that plan is still in place for online learning under those circumstances.
All right.
And Michael, I'd just like to add that Broward actually does the exact same thing. When you are home, you are able to join in virtually to your instruction.
Yeah.
For your instruction.
All right. Well, I want to thank both Laurie Levinson and Dr. Steve Gellin. Thank you so much. School begins tomorrow. Good luck, and let's hope that it's a healthy and productive experience for all the school kids in South Florida.
Michael, can I just make one quick announcement that we want to share with our public, we're going to be giving out testing kits to our teachers starting today. So we want our teachers to know their status. We're going to be giving out testing kits at Miami Lakes Educational Center, North Miami Senior High School, Miami Senior High School, Northwestern Senior High School, Killian Senior High School, and South Miami Senior High School. So our educators, our employees have an opportunity to know their status today so they can report to those particular sites and consult with their administration so that they'll know their status before reporting to work tomorrow.
Excellent. Good idea,
And
Steve.
Michael, if I could just add as well, we gave out testing kits yesterday, and we will be doing so for our staff as well today from 12 to 4 p.m. at our 5 transportation terminals.
We're glad to remind teachers and any other school employees they can get those kits. Steve, Laurie, thanks a million. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.